Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live from Mani Sabata, Desa Kanda. Also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Y and beyond. President John Dramani Mahama pardons Sammy Gyamfi, acting Gold Board CEO, after his public apology and show of remorse over the cash gift scandal. We've got details for you and the happenings from the presidency some few minutes ago here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7.
The presidency acknowledges Mr. Sammy Gyamfi's immediate act of contrition and the acknowledgement of the need to express regrets over that incident. So that apology has been taken on board.
That's the minister in charge of government communications there, Felix Kwatiofosu. Also this evening, government to deport 3 Indians and prosecute 3 others as national security apparatus vows a crackdown on illegal gold trade. We've got the latest on the arrests made so far by the Ghana Police Service following the renewed anti-Galamsey campaign. We've got details for you here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Y and also on 3FM 927 on Facebook and on X. Let's settle for a summary of the news now. And you know, Mhali guys here.
In today's summaries, the former Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, GIIF, Samuel Solomon Asamoah, a former board chairperson of the fund, Professor Christopher Amayao Ekumfi, have been dragged to the High Court for allegedly causing financial loss of a tune of $2 million in transaction to build an urban sky train system in Accra. The two have been charged with 6 counts of conspiracy, willfully causing financial loss to the state and international dispensation of public funds. Now, the Ghana Gold Board has announced that 3 out of 6 foreign nationals recently arrested for illegal gold trading in the country will be deported, while the remaining 3 will face prosecution under the newly enacted Ghana Gold Board Act 2025. The announcement was made during a press briefing on May 14 in Accra by Prince Menka, the spokesperson for Gold Board. He explained the decision was based on the timing of the arrest in relation to the April 30 deadline set for all foreign nationals to exit Ghana's local gold trade. The West African Examination Council has expressed deep concern over coordinated cheating schemes, some reportedly involving entire schools in a premeditated examination malpractice, saying the menace is becoming a national security threat. The council said an ethical act often facilitated by students, school authorities, and even trusted stakeholders pose a serious threat to credibility and the integrity of the examination process. Before I go, the Ashanti Regional Police Command has arrested a notorious suspected armed robber who has been on the run since 2016. The suspect, 32-year-old Michael Owusu-Ansah, popularly known as Baby Last, was declared wanted following his alleged involvement in a robbery and the murder of Corporal Frank Esso of the SWAT unit in the Ashanti region. The incident occurred on May 19, 2016 at the Open Space Hotel in Denchen Monson.
Thank you. There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Hot Edition. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and also on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Let's get into the stories now. And just a few minutes ago, President John Dramani Mahama has pardoned the acting CEO of Gold Board, Sammy Gyamfi, after accepting his public apology and remorse. This was announced by Felix Kwatiofosu, spokesperson for the president and the minister in charge of government communications, some minutes ago during a press briefing at the presidency.
You will recall that in the immediate aftermath of the emergence of the video, Mr. Sammy Gyamfi promptly issued an apology in which he expressed regrets over the matter and took on board public concerns raised overseas. A day after that, the chief of staff summoned him to the presidency to learn about what transpired. The invitation was honored by Mr. Sammy Gyamfi. He indicated to the chief of staff what his side of the story is, what explanation there is for what we also in the video. At the time, President Mahama was out of the country, so he had to be briefed on the discussions held with Mr. Samijinfi by the Chief of Staff, and he has been briefed. Now, the view is that, to begin with, the presidency acknowledges Mr. Samijinfi's immediate act of contrition and the acknowledgement of the need to express regrets over that incident. So that apology has been taken on board. You do recall that when President Obama launched the Code of Conduct, he said that one of the remedies for any potential breach was a public apology. He also said one of the potential remedies was a caution from the highest levels of government. After the interaction with the Chief of Staff, the Chief of Staff cautioned him, having acknowledged the apology he made. He cautioned him and impressed upon him to take on board public sentiment and act in ways that reflect public expectation. The Chief of Staff also took the opportunity to reissue the same caution that the President had sent to all appointees to be circumspect in their conduct. There may be things that may be commonplace in our private lives, but once you become a public official, you need to be sensitive to public expectation, and therefore that ought to guide the way that you order your steps. So in view of that, presidency does not believe that any further action ought to be taken beyond the apology and the caution. And we all take a cue from it and are going to do better in order to meet the expectations of the Ghanaian public. We value feedback. We are aware that Ghanaians expect high standards in the performance of our duties as public officials. We remain committed to meeting those high standards to ensure that we deliver the best of governance to our people who have been long suffering in the last few years under poor governance. So that is what I have for you. It is not deemed at this moment necessary to take further action beyond what has already been done. And Mr. Samijinfi has committed to ensuring that such an incident does not recur. I thank you very much.
That's Felix Kwachiofosu there. He is a minister in charge of government communications, communicating the decision of the government, essentially the presidency, after the meeting between Samijinfi, the acting CEO of Gold Board, and also the Chief of Staff earlier in the week. Julius Debra has indicated that the presidency has resolved that there is no further action needed to be taken after Samijinfi's public apology immediately after this video went viral. Now, there's been a number of demands from the NPP, for instance, asking that the least that the presidency can do is a suspension of Samijinfi, an ultimate dismissal. And in fact, so you have some other anti-corruption crusaders also make the point about an investigation into it. Now, we understand that this incident, after the meeting with the Chief of Staff, some investigation was instituted, and this result that has been communicated today, the decision that no further action is needed to be taken. Adam Sano is the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Masano, thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition. Now, this is the decision and communication from the presidency. No further action needed to be taken after the public apology and investigation by the presidency, public apology by Samijinfi. How does this strike you?
Well, I mean, this is what I anticipated. I didn't think there had been any breach of law or policy, except that this was not very circumspect. It was indiscretion to be giving out dollars at such an event. Eventually, some pundits have said it was about $800. I'm sure if the president investigated and it was truly just $800 plus, you could definitely have associated it with some source of legitimate income or revenue. There wasn't much more you could do about it. So I'm not surprised at all. I think that the conclusion is what was anticipated, at least for me. The only thing on my mind is whether they should not be considering updating their code of conduct to have something on matters such as these.
And in updating, what would you expect if they're so minded?
Well, a statement that would talk about not taking any actions that bring the government to disrepute, something to deal with any ostentatious lifestyles that make the public think that public officers are taking advantage of their offices. Something to that extent, just to make sure that modesty is the order of the day for public officers.
I see. And those who have also raised on the bit about what has to be done going forward. There are those who, for instance, the MPP had called for his suspension at the least. Is it a far-fetched demand, or one that in your view could have been considered?
Actually, I mean, on one part, I said this was quite ludicrous. I mean, I don't see how they arrived at that conclusion. I mean, they seem to be suggesting that he was engaged in a business, foreign exchange business, and I was wondering whether a business is not about profit, and why he would be making a loss by giving all the foreign exchange for nothing to Agrada. I thought that the whole thinking around it was flawed, and I wasn't quite sure whether I was going to bring anything substantive. I don't think that expectation was likely to have met. There's no way you could describe this incident as Mr. Gyamfi engaging in a business transaction or dealing in foreign exchange, and the laws they were quoting were just not aligned with the facts of the case.
Now, how would this particular decision by the presidency, that because Sammy Gyamfi has apologized, and as a matter of fact, they have also after instituting investigation, they've resolved that indeed this is an act of indiscretion, and so he has been cautioned. How would this cure the optics of that particular incident, and how it also offends the sensibilities of Ghanaians?
I don't think that it will cure the optics. I mean, it will forever be remembered as Mr. Sammy Gyamfi having failed to be circumspect enough to realize the dangers and the risk in doing something like that. If he had been giving, say, CDs, that already would have changed the narrative. And obviously, if it wasn't something that amounted to much, then there's nothing to write about. So I don't think it will cure the optics of people say, how could Sammy Gyamfi do something like this? That's not going to be cured. It's a lesson learned the hard way for him. And certainly it's going to be something that serves as a red flag for all other political appointees. They'll be more cautious about these kinds of actions. Your second part was... What was the second question?
The second question about how, essentially, was about how this was going to impact on the optics. But you say it's not going to change much of it. But then again, there's also that call about the lack of specificity in the act of violation and the attendant act of reprimand. So if you look at page 63 of this code of conduct that was launched just about a week ago, it indicates that if a minister or a CEO in conduct that prima facie constitute a breach of any rule in this handbook, the president shall determine at his or her discretion the course of action that should be taken. So that course of action is at the discretion of the president. That's one. And such actions may include, but are not limited to, requiring the minister or CEO to render a public apology. So in this instance, Sammy Gyamfi going out to do that public apology from the discretion as exercised by the president, he's ticked this box. Does that suffice?
Well, I mean, the point I keep making is that there's no clause of that code of conduct that was breached in the first instance. So you can look through it. I didn't find anything that you could say Mr. Gyamfi has breached. Not by a far stretch, not even in the Constitution or by any existing law. So that's what I'm saying. If they don't update it, really there was nothing to write home about except the fact that you had a public officer at a senior level who was giving out dollars. That's not the currency we use, so that raises eyebrows. And then the amount, well, somebody can begin to ask, is this his own money or not? And it is that potential linkage, because he's no longer a private person in his own capacity. He's now a public officer, and everything he does is now open to public scrutiny, and that's legitimately so. So he ought to be much more circumspect, measured, and modest in what he does, and that's where he failed. So I don't see that he has breached anything that was even, could have been picked out of that rule book or code of conduct to talk about, except that, yes, many people were not happy about it, and he gave an apology, which was a right and wise thing to do. The president has looked at that. I mean, the one thing that needed to be established was what was the source of this money. As for the event itself, clearly you saw Agrada snatching money from him. You saw him counting just some of it. So you could tell from the set of events that it wasn't like it was just, it was a transaction where it was a fixed amount he was giving. So the real issue was, is this money from a legitimate source or not? And I think that that's the investigation they must have done and concluded, well, this is nothing to belabor and stretch. And definitely they must have found that this is something that he must have earned legitimately. So really, there's nothing to report, except that, yes, we don't want our public officers going around giving dollars, especially when it's in large sums. We don't want that kind of thing where then you are wondering, is it somebody who is going to bribe? What is going on here? And that's why I said maybe some additional thinking to capture that in their code of conduct may be helpful. But beyond that, what we actually need as a country is the Conduct of Public Officers Bill to be dusted, finalized, and passed. That then will be a law that everybody, and I think that's where your question on the discretion of the president becomes material.
Absolutely.
At the moment, unless somebody goes to the president that assumes he has done something, the president has now spent time thinking through with perhaps some small group what action to take. That's not probably the most effective. The best way is to have a law with sanctions already codified in it, such that then if somebody does something, 35 million Ghanaians can report, can decide to go to court, and it's clear what sanctions should be applied. I think that is the way to go.
I appreciate your thoughts. While at it, let me also acknowledge Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner. Counsel, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. So this is the outcome of the presidency's investigation and then also the communication. No further action to be taken in terms of disciplinary action against Sammy Gyamfi. He has apologized. No code broken. But in the words of Adam Senano, after this event, he and other public office holders must be cautious in doing this in public. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so it's good the president has pardoned Sammy Gyamfi. Okay, it's good he's done so. You know, because it's politics, some people were funding this thing just to score political points. It's shame on them. We shouldn't do that. You know, we are a society. People should be objective. I told you that this is a breach of Sammy Gyamfi's Article 18 rights, his right to privacy. How do you film a man who is counting money in a car? Why? If he wanted to do a public display, would he have been counting the money in the car? He would have come outside the car. So that paparazzi who did that, if we get him, we should be thinking of, Sammy should be thinking of suing him for invading his privacy and all this hell he's caused. So the president has done the right thing. He's done the right thing. And those who were, I can't help emphasizing the point that those who just wanted to do political equalization, it is shame on them. This is no money. Look, listen, sometimes we have to be very clear and we have to be very honest. Otherwise, we will box ourselves into a situation we cannot get out of. That money Sammy counted, does it look like money beyond his income? When we talk of money laundering, etc., it says that when we find you with money, that looks like money beyond your income. That's one of the measures. it looks like money beyond your income, then we'll begin to think about crime. You know how many people are holding dollars? Millions of Ghanaians are holding dollars. Yes, if we want to, if we want to deprecate the conduct of Ghanaians holding dollars, yes, let's be clear. But this one, that was not what they were basically looking at. People were just interested in saying, this is corruption, this is our money, this is Cecilia Gate. That's referring to the Cecilia Dapa matter. That's where they lost it. If they had been clear that we deprecate this conduct, we don't want Ghanaians holding money, US dollars, etc. Yes, they would have had a better reception and a better debate, because we know that certain points Ghanaians hold dollars when they shouldn't be, okay, because the Ghana cedi is our currency, etc. But, you know, we are also rational human beings. When the cedi was falling so much, we had no option but to look for dollars so that we don't lose our life savings, etc. So even that particular matter, it's not a straightforward matter. Those shouting, giddy, 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 you know how much millions of dollars a lot of those people hold? But they will say, well, they have not been caught, right? But that's hypocrisy. The fact that you've not been caught doesn't mean that you should go and start condemning somebody over things that are not a crime, right? So the president, I like the president's disencourage that he's been able to totally pardon some agency. It's even a pardon, because he's saying that no wrong has been done. So actually, the use of the word pardon is even a malaprop. Pardon is when somebody has broken a law or done something wrong and you decide not to sanction him, right? But if we agree that he's not breaking any law, then we shouldn't be saying pardon. But I also understand that, well, if you say pardon, it communicates something, right? So that's the right thing. But moving forward, I thought that whilst we were talking about some agencies, so they will be more concerned about the millions of dollars that we saw with Cecilia Dapa, and which they couldn't even, the MPP couldn't bring Cecilia Dapa to justice. Cecilia Dapa, who was given 3 opportunities to explain the source of the income, that money, and she couldn't explain. She said it was cosmetic business. The 2 cosmetic companies she gave details to the OSP to go check. It turned out those companies didn't belong to her, etc. And then she said the money also belonged to her, the dollars belonged to her deceased brother, who was a cobbler, right? Then later she changed it because the deceased brother's widow wanted to sue her, etc. You are not concerned about that, but you are just concerned about a few, hundreds or thousands of different dollars. That money that some agency counted could not have been more than $3,000.
No, but Council, how about that proposal that, and I referenced it earlier, what you heard Adam Senano talk about, that the takeaway should be some guiding principles, at least, for public officers in how they conduct themselves in the public in this regard. And not necessarily, for instance, going by the other proposals that there should be a law regulating gift giving by public office holders.
Yes, he's right, because you cannot put a limit on what somebody can give as a gift. That's preposterous. Yes, I heard that thing. Some people were saying there should be a limit. How? When an MP is paying this constituent school fees, 50,000, 100,000, you want to limit that? If an MP is paying a constituent's medical bills, you want to limit that? As I said, you see, some people rushed into this particular debate. Sometimes I look back, the more the debate developed, then the more some of the comments some big people gave initially looked a bit not appropriate, because that put a limit on what a politician can give. Which law is that? Where? What the law that we currently have is what we should strengthen. Just be sure that what he's giving is his money. That's what you should be looking at. Asset declaration law, better law on that. We know his income, we know what he has declared, so that assuming you find an MP giving a constituent 200,000, and yet you see that when he declared his assets maybe 3 months ago, all of his cash was, let's say, worth maybe 200,000. Then you're like, but this MP, your declaration is just a few months, 3 or 4 months ago. you didn't have much cash. How can you give a constituent 100,000, etc.? You see, so you tackle it from I believe the asset declaration law, strong laws on the asset declaration. Yeah. But you can never dictate to another human being how much he can give as a person because he's a public officer. That's not possible. So if a constituent is sick, the medical bill is 200,000. The MP wants to pay all the 200,000. Who are we to say that this MP shouldn't pay that money or this minister shouldn't save another Ghanaian?
But all of this also, you heard Phyllis Kwachofosu when he was addressing the press at the Jubilee House not too long ago, that this debate also reflects the high standards Ghanaians expect, and not that this is going to be business as usual governance. And that's one point that you made earlier, that to the extent that this became a big issue and the demands that Ghanaians were making clearly indicates that we're not going to tolerate this as business as usual, is it not?
Yes, absolutely. So this debate tells you that a lot of Ghanaians are engaged now in our governance system. So they are very concerned. Anything they would raise questions. Yes, so it's good. It's good. But let's also mention that, Kwasi Fosu is a politician. He doesn't want to lose votes. So he cannot be as vociferous and plain talking or straight talking like me. I am not looking for votes. So I have to address it head on, like a regular Ghanaian. I don't want us to do some analysis that tomorrow will give us trouble. What I'm saying is, Ocansey, is that if an MP or a minister is going to pay a constituent medical bill, it's worth so much. You are saying what? Because it's an MP, he shouldn't give that money. Oh, your remedy is that get an asset declaration law that gives you an insight into how much he owns, so that when he's giving the money, then you can measure whether it is proportionate to his income or not. That's why I said, so we are tackling it from the wrong perspective. And so, Kwasi Fosu being a politician, he knows the next election is practically, let's say, 3 years away. So he has to be careful in speech. He won't argue with you. Yes, but to be very honest, I will speak plainly. A lot of the arguments we are hearing in this debate were not arguments we should be making. They were more about a certain political agenda just to paint this government black. But he, Kwasi Fosu, cannot make such statements because quickly opposition will take him on. But we are not being fair to ourselves. The opposition who are trying to drive this one as an agenda should bow their heads in shame. They were here. They paid bills. They could not even stop. Even in opposition, they pay a lot of bills, etc. So they shouldn't take this matter out of context. Otherwise, it will come to hurt them. Look, Mr. Ocansey, I'm promising you, it won't be long. Somebody will bring a video of these opposition people doling out plenty money. It won't be long. Just mark it on the wall. Then you see more of the hypocrisy. Tackle asset declaration law. We should know what each of these public officers is worth. So when he's giving out money, you can measure. That is it. If you don't tackle to know what he's worth, how can you just see money and presume this is our funds, this is corruption, etc.? So we showed that on the asset declaration law, even Liberia, war-torn Liberia, they publish their assets publicly. When the public officers declare, it's publicly available. I'm talking about African countries.
Yes.
Central African Republic, another war-torn country. They also publish this in Cape Verde, South Africa, and then is in Mozambique. 5 countries. Some of these countries, we are well ahead of them. South Africa was under apartheid. We have been free ever since, from 1957. Why should we let all these countries go ahead of us? We had our own law, the PNGC Law 280. It was there, and then in 1993, we repealed it when we passed Act 550. That's the current public officers disqualification, blah, blah, blah law, Act 550. So the point is that go back, Sankofa, let's do Sankofa. Let's get a better asset declaration law so that we can use it to tackle some of these things rather than to say public officers should not give money. It's not possible. You can't write any law like that.
And Council, on that particular tangent, maybe a quick one on this. there's been that aspect of this conversation as well about the recipient, so that if really Sami Gyamfi had given the same amount of money to, for instance, a needy, but brilliant student, or somebody who needs very urgent medical care, or he was doing a donation with the same amount, it wouldn't have become an issue. But is a recipient also to be looked at in all of this?
Yes, that's one of the things that fueled it, because the recipient for the food soldiers, one of the things is that this recipient, Patricia Oduro-Kwarteng, right?
Yes.
Popularly called Agrada, she had preached relentlessly against John Mahama, candidate Mahama, even though Patricia Oduro-Kwarteng's father was NDC. Yes, I've seen one of the sermons where she was saying that Mimoja NDC, Nanso, blah, blah, JM can never become president. All those things mixed came up, right? But I'm looking at the principle. I don't want to look at the peripheral facts. So if it means that if it's Agrada, then that one we will make a different rule. If it is Kuhia, then that one another rule. We can't live in such a society. It's one rule. Generally, of course, there are exceptions. Sometimes in the law, there's affirmative action. But that apart, they'll tell you that equality before the law. Yes. Or in another sense, you hear generally equality before the law. But also to every rule, there are exceptions. But that's not the exception people want in this case. But let's not forget that Agrada, that's Patricia Oduro-Kwarteng, says that she gave out her hotel to NDC to use during the campaign period for free. And we all know that sometimes you give something for free, but later on, when you get an opportunity, you wish you are giving something in appreciation. So let's say you're giving somebody something worth 100,000. Another time, you see the person, maybe he has prospered. He said, hey, you remember I did this for you. Okay, you to give me something in appreciation. So please, for those saying that, why is Sami Gyamfi giving Agrada money when they food soldiers are hungry, etc.? Agrada is saying that they use her hotel during the campaign period. She mentioned the number of days, I've forgotten. But you see a sermon. So is there a hotel? Does she own a hotel there? What NDC uses? NDC uses, that is it.
Okay.
Yeah, so in all, yes, the main lesson we'll learn is that because Sami Gyamfi destroyed the NPP, okay, because he gave them a lot of hell, he exposed a lot of the Baumia and Akufo-Addo's sloganeering and bad governance, he is a big target to the NPP. So the least thing he does, they want to, paint him black. So it's a lesson to all of us. Yes, right. That's what I see.
I see. Council, and stay with me a bit. Just some 25 minutes to the top of the hour, 6 p.m. You're so live here on Hot Edition. The Chief of Staff, if you're just joining us, the Chief of Staff, Julius Zebra, has formally cautioned the acting CEO of the Ghana Gold Board, Sami Gyamfi, following a recent controversial gift-giving incident, which was captured on video. Sami Gyamfi was seen on this viral video, which we're showing now at 3FM927 on Facebook, gifting dollar notes to social media personality and this controversial evangelist Patricia Siedua, popularly known as Mama Pat or Agrada. Now, the official subsequently apologized. Sami Gyamfi subsequently apologized for what he admitted to be an unfortunate act of indiscretion, after which he was summoned by the presidency. Phyllis Kwachiofosu addressed the press at the Jubilee House not too long ago, indicating that the presidency does not believe that any further action ought to be taken beyond the apology and the caution of Sami Gyamfi. So that's the latest to it. But, Council, there's some breaking news coming through right now.
Breaking news on 3FM 92.7.
Well, we're just getting some information from the presidency that the committee set up by the president, John Dramani Mahama, to inquire into the 3 petitions against the Chief Justice will commence their hearing tomorrow. Thursday, 15th May 2025. The 5-member committee, chaired by Justice Gabriel Scott Palmer of the Supreme Court, set up by the President in accordance with Article 1466 of the 1992 Constitution and in consultation with the Council of State, following a determination of a prima facie case against the Chief Justice. The committee will sit 3 times a week and present their recommendation to the President upon completion of their work. Council, so that's information coming through right now. How is the path going to be for this council? This committee, from what you do know, or how, as it is stipulated in the Constitution?
Yeah, so it's going to be a very arduous task, very arduous. Yeah, arduous, because it's a lot of work. Okay, from what I'm here is a lot of work, okay, and also being a practitioner, okay, I go to court, almost on a daily basis, so I know that when you're going to a trial, it's not a joke, and most especially, this is a trial involving, or the subject matter is about the Chief Justice, removal or not to remove the Chief Justice. That's the bottom line. Everything you are going to do, will it result in the removal or the continuous stay in office of the Chief Justice? So this is going to be a high-stakes game, very, very high-stakes game. Yes, everything counts, everything, every question. So what we can see is that what is going to happen is that the petitioners, so that one we don't know how they'll do it. Remember, there are 3 petitions, right? To the extent that the petitions say different things, right? I don't really remember that they have much in common. So there are going to be 3 trials, right? So the one concerning Ayamga Akulgo, right? The one by the Shining Stars people, and then the one by Daniel Ofori, right? So the committee will choose which trial will be first. But whenever they choose the first case, it means that the petitioners in that case, right, now that they've presented their cases, they will be asked to give further. So this is the stage they are going to give the evidence. You know, because they've not strictly written down the procedure in court, we don't know exactly what they'll do. But I can use a general analogy from court, which is that the petitioner has to present his case. So petitioner presenting his case means that, assuming they are starting with AJ, that's a Shining Stars case, it means that AJ will be asked to enter the box and give his evidence in chief. I can also imagine that in order not to create surprises, they would be asked to give their statements in advance, because you see, this is what happens. In the normal course today, before you enter the box, you give your witness statement, and in the witness statement, you attach all your evidence, right? The ones that can be attached. When we say evidence, it's not every time that it is a book or it is blood, forensic evidence, or a bullet or a gun. Sometimes the evidence is oral. Maybe you saw with your eyes. So you state it, I observed this, or you heard with your ears, I heard this. So I'm saying that for the evidence that involve objects or external things, when you do the witness statement, you attach them. If it is not something you can attach, you maybe send a picture. If it is not something you can send a picture, you state that it is available. On that day, you bring it. So assuming it's a gun, you cannot attach the gun to the witness statement. It means the day you enter the box, you bring it. Then the lawyers in cross-examination, they will inspect it, blah, 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 and then ask questions. So the short of what I've been saying for the past 1 minute is that when you go to present the case, I'm saying that they may ask them to bring witness statements and attach, for the ones that they can attach evidence, they should attach, so that the CJ's lawyers will get those statements in advance so that they can read and then know how to come and cross-examine. You see it? So it's likely that can happen, that bring statements in advance so that we can, and all of that is part of the hearing. So saying that tomorrow the hearing will commence doesn't mean that it's tomorrow somebody will enter the box immediately. No. We can have what we call case management conference. So you go there, and that's when these rules will be made. They'll go and write the witness statement. When there are documents attached, all those things I've said, and file, so that the other side will get them, read through. It helps to make the case move faster. If not, if the person comes to sit in the box and starts talking and starts removing his statements one by one. It's ambush litigation. We've moved past that. So it's likely maybe the people will not enter the box tomorrow, but rather tomorrow will be for them to set some of these ground rules, what we call case management conference, okay, where they'll be told to go and do these statements and bring them. Then after that, once that is done, the next stage is that when the person enters the box, because he has already written everything down on paper, he will not be asked to narrate everything A to Z, assuming the petition is 15 pages. When he enters the box, because he's already written the witness statement, he will not be talking for the next 1 hour, repeating everything there. No. They will just ask him, his lawyer will ask him, is this your statement? Of course. What is your name? Where do you live? Why are you here today? Did you file a witness statement? He say, yes. Okay. Then he say, look at this. Is that it? He say, yes. But what do you want to do? I want to give it to the committee as my statement. So that you see that there's 15 pages, no? He doesn't have to repeat everything. So in 3 minutes, he's done with the examination chief. Then the lawyers for the CJ will now come and do the cross-examination to be sure that, among others, they will tell the Chief Justice story through this person. You are saying it is A, right?
Right.
But have you considered that it could be B, etc.? So that's cross-examination for each of the witnesses. Then when they are done, a decision will be given.
I thank you so much for this very important detail and walking us through how the next days and weeks ahead will be like. I appreciate your counsel. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner there, sharing his thoughts with us on this. And if you're just joining us, the breaking news coming through right now is what we just told you now, that the president, the committee set up by the president, John Dramani Mahama, to inquire into the 3 petitions against the Chief Justice will commence their hearings tomorrow. Thursday, 15th May 2025, the 5-member committee chaired by Justice Gabriel Scott Palmer of the Supreme Court, set up by the President in accordance with Article 1466 of the 1992 Constitution and consultation with the Council of State following a determination of a prima facie case against the Chief Justice. The committee will sit 3 times a week and present their recommendations to the President upon completion of their work. This is a statement coming through a few minutes ago, signed by Phyllis Kwatiofosu, spokesperson to the President, Minister in charge of Government Communications. In there, the lawyer Martin Pebo says this is going to be an arduous task for them, going through all 3 petitions. But stay with us here on 3FM 92.7 and TV3 across all media journal platforms. We'll be updating you as and when we get more information on this. But away from that, an operation led by the National Security Operatives has led to the arrest of some 6 Indian nationals trading illegally in gold. 3 of them were arrested at Nyenem in the Eastern region and the other 3 at Adiamra in the Ashanti region. Addressing the press, National Security Coordinator DCOP Abdul Osman Razak said there's an ongoing operation to flush out foreign nationals from gold trading as per the country's new laws. We'll try to recall that for you here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also on Kesme 107.1. We are on W 93.5 in Tamale and beyond. We will come back to that story shortly, but still on matters of mining, a total of 208 suspects involved in illegal mining activities have been arrested, with 99 excavators seized from the owners. The Ghana Police Service, which gave the update today, has also indicated 3 bulldozers, 4 pump action guns, 3 single barrel guns, 1 pistol, 11 Shanfangs, together with several other exhibits, including vehicles, motorbikes, tricycles, generators, gold detectors, and pumping machines, have been received by the police. The Ghana Police Service continues in its fight against illegal mining activities across the country from March 25 to date. Here's a breakdown of the areas the police and the military have carried the operations so far in a special anti-galamsey operation at Samurai Boy along the Tano River, Wasadunkwa, and Tigarikrum and surrounding communities in the Western region, the police arrested 58 suspects comprising 50 Ghanaians and 8 Chinese in connection with illegal mining activities and retrieved 85 excavated and 3 bulldozers. Also, the Western Regional Police Command has arrested 19 suspects and retrieved 3 excavators and 3 pump-action guns, among other exhibits. In the Upper West region, the police command arrested 7 Ghanaian suspects and retrieved 11 chamfans and 3 motorbikes, amongst other exhibits. In the Eastern South Regional Police Command, they've also arrested 24 suspected persons, including 1 Burkinabe, retrieved 5 excavators, 3 single-barrel guns, and 1 pump-action gun, amongst other exhibits. The Western Central Regional Police Command has also arrested 85 suspects comprising 76 Ghanaians and 9 Chinese, and also retrieved 11 excavators and other exhibits. The Eastern North Regional Police Command has also arrested 15 suspects, including 1 Chinese, and retrieved 4 excavators and control boards, 9 monitors, and 1 pistol, among other exhibits. Let's hear from Engineer Ken Ashigbe, who is the convener for the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining.
Well, thank you very much. So I think that we definitely need to commend the Ghana Police Service for the increased activity so far as the fight against Galamsey is concerned. We also need to commend the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources also for all the work, and I think possibly the Minister for Interior, the Minister for Defense, the Minister for Interior. The thing about it is that with all of these arrests that have been made into those lists, where are the kingpins in all of that? You're not seeing the kingpins in that. And then the other thing you would ask is that the foreigners that are in there, is the Minister for Interior going to tell us that he's going to still go against Act 995 and keep on deporting these people, especially the Chinese people? That's something that, really is a difficult one. And then also we know that Apunta Mining, for example, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources led an operation that, got the evidence of the illegal activity, and we know that the financial crime people have done, have garnished the accounts and all of that. But the question we would want to ask the Attorney General and also ask the police, the ICP, is why have there been no arrest of the directors of Apunta Mining? So this issue about the kingpins needs to be dealt with. Then also for the excavators that have been seized, we know that by Act 995, when they go to court, and then they are found guilty, these excavators would be forfeited to the state. But if the people, if they are not found guilty, these excavators would have to be released to them. But the thing that should happen immediately is that all of these excavators should be tracked. So whether it is going to be forfeited or it's going to be given back to the suspect, it has to be tracked. And we should also ask immediately that the government speeds up the tracking of all excavators. All excavators at the port should be tracked, although over 7,000 in the system should also be tracked, so that we can deal with the major cause of this damage that we're having, which are the excavators and the earth-moving equipment. That tracking should happen as quickly as possible. And then also the government should change its mind about this LI 2462. In as much as they talk about the fact that they are going to repeal, make some amendments to the original Minerals and Mining Act, that time that all of that is going to be done, we cannot still have this bad LI still subsisting. So that has to be dealt with. And the state of emergency, at least in those 2 forest reserves that the president himself concedes, that is out of our control. We need some activity in there. So we'll just have to urge the government that they need to intensify the fight. What has done, what they've started is a good one, but there's a lot more work to be done.
That's Engineer Ken Ashigbe there. We'll try to get through to Darrell Bosu, who's the Deputy National Director of Arocha, Ghana, one of the foremost environmental CSOs we have in this country. Also has been speaking about this quite consistently. And, we'll keep an eye on how things play out. But the Ghana Police Service has been quite clear on what they intend to do going forward and what the next steps will be in the fight against illegal mining. You're still live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Your thoughts, views, comments and opinions are welcome at 3FM 927 and also on Facebook and on YouTube at 3FM 927. Read out to you and to the rest of the world. To some more stories before we get into the business news this evening. The Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry and various trade associations have reached an agreement to significantly reduce the prices of finished goods over the next 2 months, provided the Ghana cedi maintains its favorable performance against the dollar and other major international currencies. The cedi in recent time has seen a steady rise culminating into stronger investor confidence. The consensus was reached during a meeting held today between the members of the Ghana Union Trade Association GUTA and also the Ghana Industry and Food Beverages Association of Ghana, amongst others. Following the discussion, Minister Elizabeth Fosu-Jare announced the positive outcome, stating that the participating associations have agreed to implement price reductions.
We hope that the cedi will keep doing well. We hope that all the indicators will even improve. And they are happy to let the general public and consumers take a benefit of the stabilized economy. Government has created an enabling environment for their businesses to thrive. And it is fair that they transfer part of the dividends to the customers, because we are all working together as a country so that the cost of living will reduce. I am happy that they have explained their bit to me and my team. We also explained ours to them, and this is the consensus. I think it is positive. Dialogue is the way to go in this kind of economic environment that we find ourselves.
Oh, that's the minister there. President of GUTA, Dr. Joseph Obeng, has given assurance of the association's commitment to complying with all agreements reached during the meeting.
It's an undeniable fact that the city has made some gains and appreciate
economy. Government has created
the prices and it will risk
ourselves.
In the next 60 days, expect to see reduction in the prices of goods and services, and this is the assurance given by the business community.
The market forces will determine the prices and it will respond positively. We are in a highly competitive market. Most importers have started getting benefits of this, and most of them have started showing and sharing the benefit to the consuming public. You just have to search the market and you'll find this. But all that we need is for government to do its work, do whatever it is to sustain this, and by 2 months' time, everybody in the country will witness the fact that the business community also think about the consuming public. We depend on our customers, the consuming public, to survive as businesses. And there's no way we will not share any gains when we have it. When we have it, we will share with you. And so all that we are all talking about is sustainability and predictability. And that's a game.
That's the president of GUTA there. Also live here on Hot Edition. We're back after this quick break with the latest in the world of business. Stay with us.
Hello, Ghana. It's a new year.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ausa. Coming up tonight, Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama rallies Africa to deepen digital finance integration as Ghana partners Rwanda and Singapore on cross-border payments. Thanks for your company. Now to the detail. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, is calling on African countries to work together to build a unified digital financial system by 2030. Speaking at the 3i Africa Forum in Accra, Dr. Isiama announced a new partnership between Ghana, Rwanda, and Singapore to modernize cross-border payments. He says while Ghana has made strides in financial inclusion and fintech, broader success depends on harmonized regulations, stronger trust between countries, and bold collective action across the continent.
These gains are being reinforced by modern regulatory approaches, by pilot programs, by innovation offices, and digital public infrastructure frameworks that are all designed to promote inclusive finance, enhance SME participation, and unleash the creativity of Africa's youth and entrepreneurs. But as promising as these national initiatives are, they are not enough. And to fully realize the vision of One Africa, One Market, we must scale our efforts through continental coordination. This means harmonizing regulatory frameworks, fostering interoperability across financial infrastructures, and building trust and transparency across jurisdictions. And I must emphasize that no single institution, no matter how well resourced, can drive this transformation alone.
And that was Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama. Moving on, in a significant boost to Ghana's economic recovery efforts, new analysis from Barclays PLC indicates that the country is on track to significantly outperform its debt reduction targets agreed with the International Monetary Fund, IMF. The country's debt-to-GDP ratio is projected to fall to 54% in 2025, putting it 3 years ahead of the 2028 goal of 55% outlined in the $3 billion bailout package. There is more in the following 3 Business Tuesdays report.
The report attributed this unexpected progress to a combination of stronger than anticipated economic growth and a commitment to tighter fiscal discipline. This development marks a remarkable turnaround for Ghana, which faced significant economic headwinds, culminating in a default on its external debt just 2 years ago, prompting the appeal for IMF support. Since then, the country has been implementing stringent fiscal adjustment aimed at stabilizing its economy. Government has pledged that the country's economic recovery plan will be firmly anchored on disciplined fiscal management with a targeted sharp reduction in the fiscal deficit from 7.9% of GDP in 2024 to 3.1% this year. Despite a slight month-on-month increase in the total debt stock to 755 billion cedis, which is approximately $57.4 billion as of January, this is attributed to new domestic borrowing of 10 billion cedis. The country's expanding economy is proving to be a crucial factor in reducing the relative debt burden. Ghana's nominal GDP is projected to rise to 1.4 trillion cedis in 2025, a significant increase from approximately 1.2 trillion cedis in the previous year, further easing the debt to GDP ratio.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on Ghana beating debt reduction target 3 years ahead of schedule. Now, civil society organizations are calling for debt cancellation or relief for highly indebted countries amid worsening economic crisis. They are also demanding progressive tax reforms to ensure the wealthy and multinational companies pay their fair share to support vulnerable populations.
More than 50 countries, including Ghana, are currently facing a debt crisis. Ghana's public debt stood at approximately 761 billion cedis at the end of 2024. Last year alone, low and middle income countries paid a staggering $138 billion in debt servicing. The National Civil Society Dialogue and Mobilization on Financing for Development, FOD, is a high-level forum addressing the economic challenges confronting civil society in Ghana and across the global south. Policy and program lead at ISODEC, Bernard Anaba, is urging international creditors to cancel debts for some countries.
We expect that we should have more of debt cancellations, debt reliefs all around. That's the only way that we can solve that problem. Because if you look at the amount of debt that developing countries are owing, they will never be able to pay it over time. And so debt cancellation and debt relief is an important aspect of the restructuring process.
Country Director of ActionAid Ghana, John Nko, also stressed the need to curb illicit financial flows to help stabilize the economy.
There's also the need for government to map up concrete mechanisms to address illicit financial flows, which sees a lot of Ghana's resources being plundered out of the country. In that way, government will be ensuring that a lot more investment will go into food crop agriculture. It employs a lot of Ghanaians. Between 60 to 80% of Ghanaians are engaged in the food crop agriculture.
And that was a report on civil society organizations calling for debt cancellation or relief for highly indebted countries amid worsening economic crisis. And that brings us to the end of the business segment on Hot Edition. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. I am Bismarck Ausa. Thanks for your company. Sports is next. Please do it.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Oreku Ampofo, and we start off from the Ghana Premier League, where the biggest story coming in is Nations FC's Emmanuel Ano, who has been dominating the headlines in the past 12 hours. The forward was fined 500 Ghana cedis by the Ghana Football Association after displaying a religious inscription on his undergarment after scoring against Kotoko on match day 28 in the Ghana Premier League. The JFA's decision and Ano's act have caused a lot of controversy and stir, but sports analyst Jerome Otri says that Ano must adhere to the laws of the game despite his desire to spread the gospel.
Rules, or you quit and express your faith as you want, because within the football quarters, FIFA or the Football Association rules are not going to allow you to do what you want. You see, I've heard a lot of people say that it is anti-Christian, it is anti-religion, and some are calling it all manner of names. Let us get something clear. Football is not a Christian business.
Okay.
I don't think the Bible is against football, but I think that there are things you can do within football that can be against what the Bible preaches.
Yeah.
What is important for Arnold to understand is that he has signed up to a game which has rules. And if he wants to play that game, he must also go by the rules of that game.
Well, that was sports analyst and presbyter Jerome Otri speaking. Still on the football and religious beliefs, Solomon Amankwa of Onua Sports sheds more light on the International Football Association Board's fourth law, which prohibits players from displaying religious or political inscriptions underneath their jerseys.
Well, I think before the start of 2025, IFAB went into their rules and then made amendments of the regulations that will be playing the 2025 footballing season. And you read about the IFAB law for equipment when it talks about slogans and everything. It says equipment must not have any political, religious or personal slogans, statements or images. Players must not reveal undergarments that show political, religious, personal slogans, statements or images, or advertising other than the manufacturer's logo. For any offense, the player and or the team will be sanctioned by the competition organizer, National Football Association, or by FIFA. So clearly, it states there is a clear indication that FIFA frowns on what Ano did.
Let's now turn our attentions to Europe because the Champions League Championship playoff final is set. Sunderland will take on Sheffield United after beating Coventry by 3-2 on aggregate. Former Black Stars assistant coach George Boateng was at the ground as Sunderland edged Coventry City in extra time. Boateng caught up with Sunderland and Ghanaian midfielder Salih Samed, whom he congratulated for the victory and wished luck ahead of the playoff final at Wembley. Boateng has also described Salih Samed's season as unlucky and has tipped him to go on and achieve great things in English football.
Samed is a very good midfielder, and I was lucky to have him in the squad, or I should say we were lucky to have him in the squad at the World Cup 2022 in Qatar. He was one of the surprising players that came into the squad and fitted in perfectly. Playing alongside Thomas Partey was a very good duo, where Salih would hold, and then Thomas would be a bit more, would have a bit more freedom in midfield to go more forward. So I think Salih's coming into the Premier League at Sunderland was difficult because of the injury he had. He had a very long-term injury that kept him out for a while, and then when you come in, there are players already playing, so you need to A, find your form, and B, be better than the ones who are playing. So he's been very, very unfortunate because of injury-wise, but he's a player that I think his attributes is suited for the English League. And I think I don't know how his contract situation is at Sunderland, although he came on as a loan, if the loan can be extended, I think in that case next season we should expect more and a lot better from Salih Samed if he stays fit, because he's a valuable asset for Sunderland as well as for Ghana if he plays.
That was former assistant coach of the Black Stars. From football, let's do some athletics because baton exchange continues to be a problem for Ghana's relay team. The 4x100 men's relay team qualified for the World Athletics Championships on Sunday in Guangzhou in the World Athletics Relay, but failed on day one due to an error in the baton exchange. Athletics coach Elom Amenakwo believes that the team must address the issue in order to move to the next level.
Face setbacks. We face setbacks because we usually don't prepare. We don't have the kind of preparation that the other teams that we are going to meet have. That's what causes the setback. 4x1 relay is a teamwork. It's very technical. It's a race that you need to train over and over again so that even in the course of the race, if there is a mistake coming, like the outgoing runner can perceive it and say that, look, today my athlete is not coming fast as he used to come at training, or he's coming faster, so I have to adjust the check mark to be able to accelerate and receive the baton. Those things doesn't work in our favor. You look at team that won the Olympics in the previous year. Look at Italy. Italy at the time was Marcel Jacob, but they won the 4x1. Why? Because they have been together, they train together, they have the team spirit, they have the team cohesion. You look at Canada that have been very, very consistent in winning top championship when it comes to the 4x1. It's the same thing. GB, Great Britain, used to be very consistent those days. It's because they are very, very consistent. They are together, training together. And there were times that you look at Great Britain that even their first and second top athletes are not in the 4x1, meaning they are not fit into the setup that the coach is having. So what we need to do is to put this team together. Let's select about 6-7 of them, put them together. Let's try plan A, plan B. The coach must have plan A, plan B, plan C. If this athlete is not there, who fit into this? Those are the things that top teams do. But if we have to continue like this, just going to competition, meeting in the competition ground, and coming out with this, then the setup will happen.
So that was Coach Elom, who has rich history with Ghana's athletics team over the years. My name is Ore Kwampofo, and that's how we wrap up the sports segment here on Hot Edition. The show continues right after this break.
Early every weekday